Lumpy is a blue moose with yellow antlers and a tall, skinny body. This is about his changes to his design since the beginning. This is an early concept for the pilot episode Banjo Frenzy, and on the left is a bear with a stick and 3 marshmallows. Here is concepts of a dinosaur with a banjo, which is an early version of Lumpy. And he replaces the bear for the finalized pilot episode. He's now coloured blue and green, and even sounds like Lumpy that we all know, but has the personality of Flippy. Spin for Nonia is the first episode of Season 1, and Lumpy is now a blue moose with yellow antlers, a tall skinny body, semicircle shaped teeth, 2 nose holes and eyes close together, with small circle shaped pupils. I don't think this really counts, but I thought I should mention him being strapped to a gurney in having a ball. In Wheeling and Dealing, he's wearing a scuba mask and snorkel. He has a moustache in Pitch Impossible with a strappy hat and vest. In Treasure Those Idle Moments, Lumpy's wearing a greyish blue fedora and a shirt collar with a red tie. He's wearing a shower cap in Nothing But the Tooth. He's seen without his blue shirt, and instead of his blue pants, he's wearing a towel. Later on, he's wearing his shirt on his head with a cone-shaped party hat. Lumpy's a butcher in Meet Me for Lunch. In Off the Hook, he has a light blue and red fisherman hat. He's shirtless again in Snow Place to Go, but he's also wearing a straw hat, red shorts and glasses. And in Happy Trails Part 1, he's seen with another shirt collar and tie, but also with a blue hat. We next go to the first episode of Season 2, called Happy Trails Part 2, where Lumpy can be seen with a coconut helmet. And at the end, he's seen with a tatty brown top hat. In Rink Hijinks, he's wearing green and yellow shorts, blue boots and skis, and what seem to be stripy socks. In Get Well Soon, his fedora is an updated version of the one in Treasure Those Idle Moments, and the same for his tie. Lumpy is a farmer in Milking It. He's dressed as the Grim Reaper in Outer Sight, Outer Mime. In Class Act, he has black boots with brown pants, a scarf and a beret. Lumpy has another fedora in The Way You Make Me Wheel. He's a magician in I Get a Trick Out of You. He has a brown beanie in Out on a Limb. We can see him wearing a nightcap in Stealing the Spotlight, and later he's wearing tinted safety goggles. In Let It Slide, Lumpy's wearing a stripy swimsuit instead of his shirt and pants. And I guess I would count him wearing flaky skin like a hoodie. And he's wearing another shirt in ICU. Next in the DVD called Second Servants is Frosty Kringle, also known as Ski Kringle, and Lumpy's wearing boots with skis, socks, goggles and another sock on his head. In Old Kringle Tree and Kringle Cowlings, he's wearing a dark green winter hat, and you can see it again in the Winter Break DVD. We can also see Lumpy the Kid, which is a parody of Twinkie the Kid. And Lumpy can be seen as a vitamin tablet. In the Third Strike DVD, Lumpy's look from Class Act can be seen in black and white. And you can also find a comic where Lumpy's wearing an American football helmet. And in the Winter Break DVD, is Ski Patrol, where Lumpy's in a new art style. He's also seen wearing a red jacket, gloves, goggles and 2 skis, and then with a large backpack. Afterwards he's without his skis, and with a smaller backpack. And he also seems to be wearing a different jacket and a headset with a microphone. In the TV series episode The Wrong Side of the Tracks, Lumpy has a new, updated look, but with a tool belt. He's seen with a red and white cap in From Here to Eternity. In Party Animal, we see him as a doctor. We can see a full view of him with his standard design in Ipso Fatso. And later, we can see him with what I know as a halo brace. In Don't Yank My Chain, he's a state trooper. He's seen with a purple cap with a paw print logo on the front, in the episode Dogging It. At the beginning of See What I Found, he's seen with an orange and yellow fisherman hat. And later, he's dressed as a sailor. He's a plumber in Wishy Washy. He has a firefighter helmet in Who's to Flame. He's seen with a green hat with a recycling symbol in Every Little Bit Hurts. And later, we can see him wearing glasses. Additionally, towards the end, one of his feet has 2 toes. He's a genie in As You Wish. In Take a Hike, Lumpy's wearing green overalls, with what I know as a bicocket hat. He's wearing a sailor hat in No Place to Go. Lumpy's a giant in Once Upon a Time. In A Change of Heart, he's a surgeon. And then he puts on gloves. We also see him like this again in Truth Said a Mouthful. He's a ringmaster in Mime to 5. In Truth Said a Mouthful, he's a doctor again like in A Change of Heart, but with a few differences. Like the strap for his head mirror now being orange, and him now wearing what I know as a scrub top. And at the end, he's a golfer. He's wearing a green sweater in Idle Curiosity. In A Sight for Sore Eyes, he's an optometrist with that head mirror with the orange strap. That's also in Truth Said a Mouthful. And he puts a filthy glove on one hand. He's seen with swimming trunks and a blonde wig in Wipeout. Plus we can see him with 3 toes per foot. And he's also seen with a surfing bib. He's a mailman in Letter Late Than Never. And he also puts on Giggle's sweater. And I guess I would count him wearing stamps twice like plasters. He's a golfer again in Tongue in Cheek, but this time he has short sleeves and shoes with socks. Additionally, he puts the skin from Sniffle's hand on like a glove. Lumpy's wearing a stripy hat and scarf in I've Got You Under My Skin. In Here Today, Gone Tomorrow, he's wearing Mole's blue hat. And we also see him wearing a cone-shaped party hat. And finally, he's a psychiatrist in Double Whammy Part 1 and 2, with a moustache and a beard with a white stripe in the middle. In the TV series Volume 2 DVD, Lumpy can be seen as a butcher. In the third DVD, it's hard to tell, but it does seem like he's wearing a wig. And in the fourth DVD, he's a mechanic. In the first episode of Season 3, called Read 'em and Weep, Lumpy's an exorcist. He's wearing a purple jacket, top hat, a white shirt, and a pink bow tie in Where Screwed. In A Sucker for Love Part 2, Nutty imagines his life with a box of chocolates and sees Lumpy as a milkman. And he's unfortunately dressed for a cold climate in just desert. In Can't Stop Coughing, he's wearing headphones with an aerial. If you look closely, you can see Lumpy at the end of Rafa Khan, and he's being Dr. Manhattan from the DC Universe. He's wearing what I know as a baby carrier in All Flocked Up. And he's seen with bandages after losing most of his snout. In Something Fishy, Lumpy's wearing a tie and a shirt collar. He's seen in black and white in Without a Hitch. In Strain Kringle, Lumpy can be seen with a pinkish purplish scarf with white stripes. He's a surgeon in I Nub You. Additionally, he removed the majority of his arms. Lumpy's a police officer in a bit of a pickle. In See You Later Elevator, he's a firefighter. In The Chokes on You, he's wearing a vendor hat. He's a daredevil in Break the Cycle. He's a news reporter in Breaking Wind. In All in Vain, he's a vampire. And later, he puts on a bib. He of course has a bat form. And towards the end, he's seen fat in both forms. Lumpy is Santa Claus in No Time Like the Present. And finally, for Season 3, we can see him with a watch in By the Seat of Your Pants, and then with pink and purple goggles. In Season 4's You're Cracking Me Up, he's seen with a whistle around his neck. He's wearing a small construction helmet in All Work and No Play. In Cubtron Z, Lumpy is made out of paper. After being attacked by birds in Pet Peeve, Lumpy is seen again, with an eye patch, a peg leg, and bandages. He's a police officer again in A Vicious Cycle. He's wearing a purple bow tie with a purple and white hat in Spare Tire. And Lumpy's wearing a green top with what seems to be red shorts with a white stripe. In Season 5's An Inconvenient Tooth, he's seen with a red hat with a leaf logo. In Just Be Claus, he's Santa again. And finally, during this season, was Blood Donor, and Lumpy is seen as a nurse.